That's what I get for moving trees around. There we go. Morning, Randy. How are you, man? Get myself set up here. Pardon the bounce. So usually in the mornings before I go to work, I'll have a cup of coffee and just sit here and move some trains around. Come on. Now it wants to be cranky. It needs a cup of coffee this morning. Hey Kyle. Hey Lewis. James, good morning. Trying to enjoying the morning sunlight. Yeah, James, I saw your video earlier. That's awesome. You get started on that. That'll be good. Once you start going, everything starts to fall into place after the wood's there. And you've got a pretty involved track plan too. When I was watching you guys last week, you got a lot of stuff going on there. That should be fun. This is my favorite. Yeah. I've seen a lot of guys that, I use the whole sheet of plywood, so I'll make a box and I'll sheet the entire thing. But I've seen a lot of guys save plywood by just running strips of plywood where the track is, and then just using foam or something cheap for the rest of the board and do scenery over it. So it's only where the track is that they use the plywood, which is smart. That's a good way to save money, especially the expensive plywood is right now. What is it, $80 a sheet or something ridiculous? My entire layout was built to scrap stuff that I just found walking around. I was planning this for a while, and so I would just walk around. When I would see people throw out plywood, I would just pick it up. I actually drove by 3 doors the other day somebody had put on the side of the road, and I thought, man, I should go back and get those doors. But then, oh yeah. Sorry, yeah, I missed that. I saw that you were doing the framework out of plywood. Correct. Hey, Mike. Yep, I'm getting afternoon sun here in the morning. Taking full advantage of it. Trying to reach over the camera and all this stuff is a little bit of a task. So I'm shooting this on my iPhone, but you can't. Once you start the video live, you can't focus. Which kind of sucks. So, man, I've got quite a bit of board there. Oh yeah, I probably could do that, but I'm sitting in one corner and the train's way in the other corner. And David, my board, because I didn't really know what I was doing when I built this thing. The track is really wavy, so a lot of times when I try to push with the couplers just pushing against each other, they snap right back into place. Because even a small undulation lifts it up and brings it back in. So a lot of times that doesn't even work for me. So especially at the points, because I didn't realize it's just so stupid. I didn't realize. Yeah, I had really nice. I did photography for a long time, and I had really nice camera equipment. But I started to do leather work a few years ago, and I sold all my camera equipment to buy uh, tools for leather making. I regret it a little bit now, but my table is 8 foot 10 inches by 15 and a half inches. You can kind of see the length of it there. Hey Randy, thanks man. Thanks for stopping by. I'm gonna go soon anyway. I gotta take the dog out and do all that stuff and get ready for my day. This is just my coffee break every morning. Guess these guys coming down here to pick up the crew. So the tree directly behind the locomotive, I keep moving trees in and out of there because I want to see. I had a lower tree, had a much lower branch that came right to the fence, but I kind of like the idea of being able to see under it. Because one of the features of this seam was that the trains run behind everything, in between everything in the building, really. At first I liked it, was partially obscured by the tree, but the more I look at it, the more you can kind of see it there. So you can kind of glimpse over the fence and over the stuff under the first branches into the background. Yeah, I keep going back and forth. All the trees were are still live. Yeah, it's funny, David. My first camera that I bought in years was a 35 millimeter because of nostalgia, and instantly I regretted buying it. I was like, I should have gone with a digital. So my next cam, yeah, it's deceptive. So my next camera, I went with a Canon, but I ended up buying a couple of DSLRs and had some pretty good equipment, had some pretty nice lenses and stuff. I had probably about 10 grand worth of stuff. I do regret selling it, but I couldn't justify having all that equipment and no longer profiting from it, making money off of it. Yeah, it was nice having, but I wanted to do leather more than I wanted to do photography at that point. But yeah, trying to find 35 millimeter, getting it developed, and I realized something right away was that if you have a digital camera, I would go out and I would take, on average, 1,000 pictures, easy. And when you go home and start editing, it was like 1 out of 50 pictures were actually worth of crap. And if I had to do that on 35 millimeter, that would have been expensive as hell. But right now I have NCE Power Cab, and I have both Tsunami and ESU Look Sound. I think they both are pretty good units. Both have their benefits. I don't think any of them have like major downsides, but they both do different things. Like I really love the Soundtrack Tsunami equalizer and how you can go and adjust all those individual sounds, whereas as Loc Sound you really can't. Like, yeah, NCA is really good, Jane. I'm really happy with it. Like if you get a Loc Sound decoder from the factory, like you get a Soundtrack and Loc Sound decoder, you put them both on the track. The horn, which should be the loudest thing, was really anemic on all of the ESU Loc Sound units that I bought, whereas the Tsunami, it's very full. And once you start to adjust the EQ and the sound settings, you can really, really maximize those sounds. The ESU, you may be able to. I haven't figured out a way to do it. I mean, the bell and the generator is as loud as the horn, and to me, the horn should be the loudest thing. I mean, you stand next to a train, the horn goes off, and it's like a sonic blast. I mean, that thing grabs and shakes you. So I try to detune everything else to make the horn more pronounced. And I've really had a hard time because you have to turn down the volume of everything on Loc Sound. So if you're trying to adjust everything to make the horn louder, I haven't figured out a way to do it. There may be. Somebody knows, please let me know, because I really want to. I mean, I guess I could record my own horn sound in there. I just haven't got that far yet. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing because I made so many mistakes. This is just practice for me. So if I give this up, it's not a big deal for me. It's more like a sound stage for practice. I like seeing how the sounds move on here, and also it's fun to take pictures and videos on here. But as far as like trying to maximize the space with track plan for functionality, it was kind of a failure for me. I mean, it's okay, but it's I want to do something else too. So as time goes on, whatever I do next will still be simple. It will still be focused on mostly scenery, but the ability to move. Here's the thing I learned from my grandfather's last layout. He had a full basement, and he compartmentalized it into 3 different sections. And storage and like heat stuff was on one, water and all that stuff was on one side, and like storage on the other. And in the middle he made an office, and in the back he pretty much had a shelf layout. It was probably 15, 18 feet long, and the really cool thing was it exited through both walls, so there was a loop on in each of the spare rooms. And what that did was the train left sight and sound, which is extremely prototypical, because if you're standing anywhere, you don't see a train, all of a sudden you hear a train, you see a train, there it is in front of you, the whole world is loud, and then all of a sudden it just goes away. And I kind of knew that when I made this, but I think having the train enter the stage and then leave the stage is an important aspect to a layout that I don't have here. So I think it has, because a railroad is a business. It's moving freight or passengers from point A to point B. And if you don't have that point A and point B, you kind of lose something. So that's going to be a main focus of my next layout. There will be, the focal point of the layout will be things happen when the train arrives. And that's the one thing I'm missing here. I really can't leave. I mean, I could have made one section and then, have it disappear off into another section, but I didn't think that far ahead. So you should have, like, even if you don't have a yard or a staging area somewhere, you should have some place where the train goes away and you can't see or hear it. That's my personal opinion, anyway. I mean, I'm sure some people would differ with that, but having a point A, having a point B, having the train go away and then come back and show up on the scene, I think is an important part. And I'm refocusing how I interpret compression is probably the other key thing for me, because right now the main warehouse that you see behind in this shot right here, this is 4 feet long. So it starts here and it runs all the way down there. Now the prototype that I modeled this after is probably twice as long. So just that seam would have taken up the whole board, which would have been fine. I mean, if I had like a small staging area off of this, then that would have been probably a perfect thing. Because this was the focal point of what I wanted to build a layout. There is the LPG thing right back here, over there somewhere. And then there's supposed to be another warehouse here, which right now I just use as basically like a little siding or spur to park stuff. But when I started this, the premise was I wanted it to look like if you cross over a railroad track and you look to your left or your right, you kind of get that alley shot where there's buildings and trees on both sides and you just see the tracks run down. So when I originally designed this, there was almost buildings on both sides all the way down. And then I kept this part from here, so the first 2 feet from my hand to the right, I opened up so you could poke your head in there and you could kind of see it, and I wanted to see the scene of the warehouse here. And then I kind of, when I was trying to figure out where this was supposed to be, I ended up following the tracks to Hialeah, and in Gladeview, there's actually a block where it runs at an angle. And when I tried that out, I realized that I had more space. So when you were saying that this looks like there's more space back here, it's because these rails come right up against the board, and I maximized the space from the fence to that wall, because that wall is 15.5 inches. So from here to there, now I have more usable space because I pushed the track all the way this way. Whereas on this side of the board, the tracks are pushed to the other side. Whoop, I'm gonna freaking destroy this tree. Anyway. So then I had space here, and that's where I made the little clump of pine trees, because that was in my head the whole time. I wanted a clump of pines, because you see a lot of that in Florida, especially along like the tracks and stuff. So setting the track at an angle gave me more space to do scenery and buildings and put this parking lot here. I mean, this would have been, if I had run the track straight down the board, I wouldn't have had space to do that back there, if that makes any sense. So pushing the track at an angle actually created more space, rather than having the track run down the middle, which takes about 6 inches or something like that. Then you've got, just a few inches on either side, whereas there I have, I guess it would be almost 8 inches to work with from that fence to that wall. So if you look at Gladeview, there's a double track main line that runs right through there, but it's at an angle. It runs through that block. It was about 2,000 feet, and I condensed it to about 750 feet. But like I said, I'm going to change how I do compression from now on. I'm going to I don't want to compress what's on the prototype anymore. I'd rather have less going on and have a bigger piece of the actual prototype than try to compress there and fit more things onto the board, if that makes any sense. Anywho, I got to go walk my dog. Thanks y'all for joining. I know this is early in the morning for probably most of you. It's early for me. Anyway, hope you guys have a good Sunday. Have a good day. Happy railroading. All that stuff. Thanks for coming. Y'all take care. Thanks, Michael.